Good morning. It is Wake Up with Toastmasters, and I am Jennifer Smith, the D115 PRM, which is Public Relations Manager. And we have my co-host today, because it's Wednesday, Jean Williams.
Good morning. So you never know which Jean you're getting on a Wednesday.
I don't. I was that this morning. I was saying to myself, wow, I'm going to be surprised. Who's going to show up? I don't know which one.
Oh, well, it's good to see you. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday. This week, it's been a long week. I'm like, is it Thursday? Is it Thursday? No, it's only Wednesday.
Not yet. Not just soon.
Yes.
So what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about Toastmasters and Introverts, because we always get the comments that, oh my gosh, that you speak so eloquently, and I would never be able to do that because I'm shy, or I don't think I'm a good public speaker. And again, we've talked about how Toastmasters is more than just public speaking, right? We have talked about that it's about leadership and communication. And we are always asking for guests on our show, because I think it would make it more interesting, because that was the whole premise of the show, was to have guests.
Right.
It turned out, of course, to be a whole different animal, and just our little talk show amongst ourselves. But so I was talking to Guy Dawson, and we were talking about how that Toastmasters are actually shy introvert people, right? Because that's why we've actually joined, so that we can have that communication, so we can talk on the fly, on the cuff, and we can also give great presentations. And along the way, that byproduct of all of this is that we are growing into strong leaders, right? So it's a great byproduct, by the way, for all of you who are, oh, I'm so great at public speaking, but maybe you're not, maybe you are, but are you a good leader? And of course, if you're a public speaker, that means you're going to lead somebody. You're probably asking somebody to do something. So, right?
Well, I think though I perceive there's a definition, but there's a distinction between shy and introvert.
Oh, okay.
See, because the way I was explained to me is whether you're an introvert or an extrovert depends on where you go to get refueled. So when you feel completely exhausted emotionally, do you go to be around a big crowd to get the refueling from their energy, which makes you an extrovert? Or do you need that solitude and alone time, which makes you an introvert? But there's outgoing introverts and there's shy extroverts.
Oh, well, look at that.
So that's so if you look at it that way, though, even with those different definitions, I think extroverts, because they tend to seek solitude, they try to solve all their problems by themselves. Yeah. So they're having trouble talking or interacting with people at work. So they think, well, I'll just meditate on it more, or I'll just find a quiet corner and think about it. I'll visualize it. And so by forcing yourself out of your comfort zone to get into a Toastmasters group, you're practicing those skills. And then the opposite is, if you're an extrovert and you're shy, then you like being around people anyway. So it's just a matter of speaking when you're around the other people.
Well, look at that.
Because haven't you seen, I have one son, I call him a man of few words, because he'll be around a group of people. He's interacting, he's laughing, he's having a nice time, but he rarely speaks.
Oh.
So he's engaged, he's around people. So that really is more of a definition. Maybe he likes his alone time. It's hard to say, but I think people will usually know, when you really need to be refueled. Yes. Describe where you're at. And if they start describing, a party, I invite all my friends over, we have a nice dinner, I go to see my family, those are your extroverts. And the ones that say, on a beach, walking all by myself and looking at the sunset, those are but either group, it's still about putting yourself out of your comfort zone. Or for me, I love to talk. It was reining myself in. It was, okay, you need to talk less, Jean, better listening skills.
You and me both.
So I still fashion myself an introvert because I still really enjoy my solitude, but I also consider myself outgoing. So
That is very interesting. Yes, when you were talking about how one would just, or you would just sit and chit chat and just keep talking, like, you need to stop talking about yourself. So, and you just keep on talking.
well, I know even as a kid, see with siblings, and you got siblings. If somebody pauses too long, that means they want you to talk.
Yeah.
So that's when you fill in all those like, well, and and you make sure you always have something coming out of your mouth so that other people don't talk. so that was my first Toastmaster, was like, wait, you can actually pause and nobody's going to start talking. But the listening, I went to a club that had a listening master, which I thought, what is that? But it's a person who just gathers little tidbits of information throughout the meeting and then at the end gives a quiz. Who was it that says they like the beach the most?
Oh my
And you have
goodness.
to name the member who said that, or who was it that said, and they should name a quote. And some of them were real simple because obviously the person who just finished talking about rock climbing was the one that says, I love rock climbing.
Yeah.
But other times it was real difficult because someone would maybe do a table topics question where they would say, well, my favorite author is, I should say, no, who said their favorite author was Kipling? That kind of,
Oh my goodness.
but it was at that club I went, oh crap, I'm not a good listener.
Yeah.
So then I started working on really having to work on my listening skills. So for me personally, it wasn't the public speaking skills, it was the listening and then the leadership skills. That was the leadership skills.
Yeah, that's interesting the way you just said that. I may have to incorporate that into our group, into our club meeting. But yeah, listening skills definitely, as we're still talking about introverts and Toastmasters and how we can help the listening, as I'm sure an introvert who maybe wants to speak up, I'm sure they're probably more of a better listener than the next person, because of the fact that you're just listening. You don't want to jump in on the conversation. I just want to say, we do have somebody watching us. So and I'm watching the live chat. So if you're out there watching us, make sure you say hi so we can give you a shout out and give us a thumbs up that you like our content. Anyway, so I would consider myself an extrovert all the way around, always around people, wanting to be around people. And of course, like I said, I would talk a whole lot more than listen. So, and Toastmasters can help you with that as well. And I think I want to incorporate a listening master, maybe the general. You have 3 people. Maybe the general evaluator can actually also be part of that listening master and throw out a quiz. Said.
So what was this? So since you already are an extrovert, and I believe that absolutely, I wasn't surprised by that at all. But since you already are very comfortable talking to people in small groups or big groups, how has Toastmasters benefited you? Because there's people like you who say, well, I don't have any trouble talking to people. I don't have any trouble talking in front of a group. I don't mind leading people. I don't see that Toastmasters could benefit me.
So, and I knew that Toastmasters could benefit me, but we do have those people that say, oh, I don't think Toastmasters will benefit, because I do speak in front of people all the time. But for me, there was maybe in a smaller group, or maybe amongst my peers around our table of peers, of managers, I was always the quiet one. Quiet as in didn't have much to say, but I was very loud. And maybe that was another thing that could help me with, that has helped me with Toastmasters, is that I can control my voice, be able to speak where I don't have to yell, where everybody has to hear me. So I do have the tone control, or the volume control of my voice. The part about being around the table with my peers, which is the managers, I always thought maybe my solution maybe wasn't the right solution. So, and that's where I needed to be able to have that voice, and where your voice is always heard, is our slogan at Valley Voices and Vices. And I wanted my voice to be heard, and I wanted my solution to be the right solution, instead of, well, this is how we do it, and people putting it down. So that's where it is. But now I do have that confidence, and that's the other thing that Toastmasters helps, is I do have that confidence to say, well, maybe we should do it this way, or we should do it this way, not even a maybe, we should do it this way, so that the end result will be this. Oh, your burglar alarm, we haven't heard that. Okay.
Yeah, my burglar and I got a new burglar alarm. Animal Foundation, Humane Society. She doesn't bark all the time. Don't worry. She just sees somebody walk by.
Well, good for you for adopting. But anyway, but the table now here's my solutions and my results and what the end results will be, which I would always think that I have good ideas, because there goes that confidence in me already that my idea is good. So why aren't you listening? But now I have a way to distribute those ideas. So
I'm sorry. Mine was more of like, I just always thought my idea had to be the only way. And I was, I'd argue, this is best because, and the thing that Toastmasters taught me is, even if somebody doesn't walk like if I envision a goal and other people don't follow the exact same steps I want them to, but they get to the goal and make it more creative or unique or neat. So mine was that letting other people lead and letting other people do
that. Well, Jean needs to control that dog. I think that dog is leading her, is what's happening.
No, she's well, we got a shepherd. Shepherds are guard dogs.
Yeah.
Now that everything's good now, because the person she was barking at is in the house, so we're good. No, it's not a burglar. But no, I think for me though, it was learning that my vision of leadership didn't have to be bossy. It could be more relaxed. So for me, the skills in leadership, which I never expected in a public speaking group, was watching other people grow as leaders, watching other people get confidence as leaders. And then that gave me more confidence as a leader.
Yeah.
So it really, confidence was the key word I got out of it. And then also toning it down and bringing it down.
Your volume is so high.
not just the volume, but just the whole, well, volume too. But it was the intensity, bringing the intensity down. It's okay. I don't have to be heard every second. I can listen to other people, and they have value too. I mean, I knew they had value. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean like it was better. I just mean, for me, if I had a vision, I just wanted to make sure everybody understood it and would go on board. I wanted everybody to be on board with my idea.
Yeah.
And then I found out people could be on board with my idea, but they could help me make it better.
Yeah.
And it was that taking a deep breath and going, if I listen, that would be better. That is a great. So then pretty soon this idea that I thought was fabulous became really fabulous, because we had more people, more ideas, more interaction, and it became something really incredible.
So, it's really interesting. We did have a comment in the chat. I think it is from Ken. Says he had a hard time even talking to one person. That was my supervisor at work. He learned to be conversational with Toastmasters. And that's also even what we're doing right now, that we're able to have a conversation amongst each other. And this is what we're doing instead of doing a presentation or doing the question, but it's easier to have a one-on-one conversation. And, I actually just had a one-on-one meeting with my manager as well. And sometimes it's kind of nerve-wracking, because they, their time is valuable. And so then you're I am a speed talker too, But this time I'm able to slow it down and give the presentation to him or have a conversation with him about things, and instead of being like, oh, I know how much time you only have, and so let's cram it all in 10 minutes.
Well, one thing kids said also about, learning, being better at having conversations. Like I knew about the public speaking part. I didn't know about table topics.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought, okay, well, I've answered questions like this. My parents used to love these hypothetical, if you went on a vacation, where would you go? Or what would be the weirdest pet you would have? My parents loved asking us those questions. So the questions themselves weren't the difficulty, but it was who was asking. But then one day it just occurred to me, I thought, wait, everybody needs to learn impromptu speaking skills.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that boss at work, but if your best friend walks in, well, how was your vacation to Puerto Vallarta? Then you're right away, that's an impromptu speech.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just yammer on for 25 minutes till the person says, oh God, I never should have asked her about her vacation. And you also don't want to say, oh, good.
Yeah.
When they really did care to hear. So I think that's where the table topics.
The timer card.
It was good. But what'd you do? Well, lots of things. You don't want that, or people don't. Either way, you're not winning if you're talking incessantly. So you have the 20-minute break, and that's all you've heard is 20 minutes of, and nobody else got to talk.
Yeah.
And the other part that's impromptu speaking, we just don't think about it, is job interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Job interviews are absolutely the definition of impromptu speaking, because it really matters. It's high stress normally, and it's all impromptu. So I think both those skills were skills that I could benefit from.
Yeah. I think that, and those are bringing out the best in you. So for, our topic is Toastmasters and Introverts. It does bring out the best in you for being able to talk and storytell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also to condense your time, your questions, your answers into a certain amount of time. That somebody doesn't have a whole 20 minutes on their 10-minute break, right? To tell the story. And plus you want to give that person time to rebut, your rebuttal, have that conversation one-on-one, back and forth. So Toastmasters does help you with that. I will tell you.
But it's also about being organized.
Yeah, and your thoughts, right?
Because everybody knows that, every single person knows that one that, oh, it was so great. We got our bags. Did I tell you I had trouble buying a bag and I ended up with a shoe box as my carry? Oh, I didn't tell you that. Well, that's because I was at the boot place when I bought it. And pretty soon you're like, but anyway, so then we were at the beach. Huh? You were just buying shoes. No, in Puerto Vallarta, you idiot. Like,
why are you following my conversation?
So yes, I think the being organized, because that taking that moment after someone, like in table topic, somebody asks a question, taking that moment to think, okay, introduction, body, conclusion, 2 to 3 minutes, or 1 to 2 minutes. In a private conversation, it might be even 3 minutes, but keeping it concise, answering the question. People really do appreciate that. And that's a skill I really did excel, really get better at in Toastmasters, was taking that time to organize my thoughts.
Now, I have a friend who is not a Toastmaster, and she tells the best stories ever. She's been my friend for over 20 years, and she can tell a story. She can recite, whatever event that happened to her. And then when she even tells a story about, hey, what did you watch on TV? She'll tell exactly the story of it. And she's the most amazing storyteller. So whenever I call her every morning, she'll know who she is if she watches the show.
We just have to get her in a club.
Yeah.
Have her visit.
Yeah, she's a great storyteller. And that's another reason why I joined Toastmasters. Not that I was an introvert, or, it was because I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to be able to capture people and gain their attention and keep their attention. That's how I'm telling a story. Haven't mastered that yet, of the storytelling, but that's my next goal through.
That's more of a challenging thing than we think, because I think some people are just natural born storytellers.
Yeah.
and other people probably will always struggle with it. And then there's the people in the middle.
Yeah.
And just because you would always struggle with storytelling doesn't mean there's not a lot of other things you can learn and be good at.
Yeah.
It just means that for some reason, some people just
it's like their
aren't
memory.
there.
Maybe it's the ADD in them to be able to, I am not ADD. I am not, that person that's like, oh my gosh, I have to have this, and she is. So maybe that's how her brain flows to be able to tell that story.
I don't know. I always wondered what does make some people really great storytellers and some there. If you're in, put it in the chat if you guys are there. What do you think makes some people a natural born storyteller and others have to work at it?
Yeah, maybe we should have somebody from Storytellers come and talk to us about that.
Well, it's interesting. We always ask people, why did you join Toastmasters? And I actually heard a story that the other day, the person was telling me why she joined Toastmasters. And I'd heard this story once or twice before. And it was, well, I wanted to meet people. I wanted to get out of the house and see people. And I thought it'd be nice to hear some stories. So I went to a meeting. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to observe.
Who was that? Was that
No, it's okay. It doesn't matter who it was.
I love it. Yes.
The point is, and it's so interesting though, because I can't imagine. I guess they looked at it more like a theater type experience, which is,
yeah.
And then was the person was saying this she was, I was shocked they wanted me to talk. And
Yeah.
But it was kind of, it was, I had heard it because I had heard it once or twice before. It didn't shock me that she was saying that, but that isn't but if she wanted to meet people and interact, and here she is like a year later in leadership positions and everything else. So it turned around, but her whole idea was, let me just get out and watch and observe. So maybe
that was the introvert probably in her.
The introvert, or maybe just she realizes that's the skill she needs to develop, or just truly is liking to be around people.
Yeah.
Because it's just, she's new to town, wanted to meet people, and she saw the Toastmasters Club and thought, there's people. So that's the extrovert. So maybe she new to town, wanted to refuel and need to be around people. But so maybe it was extrovert, but she didn't care about that skill of public speaking.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, like, I guess I so like a month or two later, you could talk now. No, I'm good.
I love that story. That was quite funny. So yeah, for anybody who just wants to hear what people have to say or just come and meet us, eventually you'll become a member. We have a lady, hopefully she's watching as well, that has been coming on and off for about, well, I guess a year, because that's when we came. 2 years. Wow, 2 years. And so we asked her, like, are you going to be a member? And so I think she's going to finally sign up and participate with us.
Well, I think it takes some people more time, because I've heard people who I thought, they come, they visit once or twice, that you persuade them to answer a table topic question. They'll do okay.
Yeah.
And then you finally, really get to join. If you really, we'd really appreciate you. You got a lot of great qualities. And it's so funny, every now and then, a lot of times the person says, oh, I'll never be this good. I can't join this crowd. Like, well, yeah, we didn't all walk in and become, and then you start saying, no, the fellow over there, his first 3 speeches were half the time they should have been. And that person's first table topics was 18 seconds. And that person's first time they did an evaluation was 38 seconds. And it should have been 2 minutes. And then finally the person, oh, I see. I said, it isn't that they're better. They're just ahead of you on the path.
Yes.
You're on the same path. They're just ahead of you on the path. They've seen some of the sites you're going to see.
Yes.
And then that's, I could really join. Oh, yes.
Yes, you can really join us.
But I think we need to actually ask, because I had one woman would come to our meetings, and I was not an officer of the club. I was still fairly new Toastmaster. And she would come week after week, and she'd look real hopeful. Maybe they'd call on her for table topics. And, sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. And then one day she said, as she was walking out, I can't wait till I'm good enough for them to ask me to join. And she'd been coming for like three weeks. And I said, wait, what? She said, well, one day I'm going to be good enough that I'll be invited to join. And I said, no, you're invited to here, have an application.
Yes. So
You know, nobody was this great walking in. One or two people were this great walking in the door, but most of them weren't. And everybody, even if they were great speakers walking in the door, there's something they've learned.
Yes. Well, I think our time is up when we have talked about introverts and Toastmasters and how we can help. And I think it's actually, after we can summarize that, we talked about why Toastmasters, but I think the path went a different way this time. So I think that's really, really good. And for those of you who are watching and would like to join us and talk about your Toastmasters experience, please make sure you put in the comments or message to Ken Richardson, our club growth director, and we will schedule you to be on. For those of you who are watching and wants to become a Toastmaster, find a club on toastmasters.org or reach out to us if you want to join any one of our clubs from the host. That would be fun because now you have a familiar face that you can see. And I think do we have enrichment night this weekend?
Yes, we do.
We do. And one of the enrichment nights things that I thought was, we have free toast hosts, right?
Yes, there's a 2-hour workshop where you can just pop in and pop out. It's a help desk.
Yes.
So it's not a workshop, just help desk. Pop in, get your one-on-one questions answered, share your screen. Jean Duffer will help you with either free toast or meetup or both. So pop in, get your question answered, pop back out, and whatever you're missing on your club or the questions you have, he will help you with that.
We just went over Toastmasters in the Kitchen, just went to free toast host, and I think we need to have somebody go there. Yeah. Because yeah.
And that's it. I still have trouble. It's so funny because I still have trouble with it. I think somebody pointed out to me, because I'll usually say in the meeting, well, I'll do this next week, and somebody will put it in the agenda. And then yesterday it was brought to my attention, you haven't been on our free toast host site to sign up for a role yourself for 900 days. And I went, yeah, it'd probably be 1,000 days if you wait a week or two. I didn't say that. I'm just not. It's me and computers, but we've talked about that before. That's another subject.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just one of those. Yeah, but that's okay. But if you're in a leadership position like vice president of education, vice president membership, in even PR, there's so many things on free toast host, so many features it has. Yes. So pop in and learn some of the features you don't know about.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, it is past our time. Thank you, Jean, for joining us today, and we will see Ken and Phyllis here tomorrow, and then somebody, Jean, one of the Jeans, and Anita on Friday. Right. So, and then you'll see me next week. So have a great Wednesday. It is hump day. Woo, woo.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.